Welcome to the Pal Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Our reviews are more than just reviews. We are here to build the new Christendom by exposing the bad writers, money lovers, and sexual perverts found in Hollywood. Continue listening to know what type of content we as Christians should be consuming and what we should stray away from. This is the Pal Bros Movie Reviews. If you wish to support us in our mission, head over to patreon.com/thepalbros or follow the link in the show notes. There you'll gain access to our exclusive show, the Pal Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews by the Pal Bros. And now, on with the show.
Before Marvel Comics was a company, there was an obscure Western anti-hero named Ghost Rider. Created in 1949, Ghost Rider was a ghostly-looking cowboy who enacted justice upon the outlaws of the Old West. It wasn't until Marvel acquired the rights to the character in 1961 that we meet Johnny Blaze, the skull and bones, motorcycle, leather jacket-wearing, flaming anti-hero that we know of today. Now, the character of Ghost Rider deals with a lot of similar topics of vigilante justice that we have seen with characters like the Punisher and Daredevil. But this one, it has a twist to it, because our hero for today's movie, he sells his soul to the devil in order to do his bidding. But is he a hero? Is he someone who can inspire us and that we can look up to? Well, stay tuned as we discuss Ghost Rider. Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, where we review movies. We talk about movies, where we give high praise to the moving pictures, to films, and low praise to those that also deserve low praise. We are here another week, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trent, one of your hosts. I'm here with my other host, Tobiah. How you doing, Tobiah?
Not too bad. This is another interesting one to go through, and
This is a legendary day. This is a legendary podcast because we got to review our first Nick Cage movie.
Yep.
And I'm sure it won't be our last.
Yeah.
In fact, there will likely be a Nick Cage film in our next season.
Yep. Almost certainly.
One of us is going to put it in our. We know exactly which one. We're not going to say it, but one of us is going to put one of his movies, because we both love one of his movies, in our top 15.
Yep.
We're gonna get in the cage with Cage.
Yeah, we're in our last little streak here. We got this one and two more for this season. And yeah, we'll take a few weeks off and to kind of recuperate and prepare for our next season. Our next be 20 episode season, and
Yep.
Yeah, we're looking forward to gearing up for that, and
Totally.
And we'll figure out something for you guys for those few weeks, so we don't leave you empty-handed, so you can have something to look forward to each week on your way to work or on your way home from work or wherever you listen to this podcast.
On the toilet.
Yep, on the toilet.
Wherever.
So, yeah, what are we reviewing, Trenton?
We are reviewing Ghost Rider.
Yes.
Ghost Rider.
When did this come out? Was it 2000?
Ghost Rider came out 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We're still in 2006.
2 years before the kickoff of the MCU with Iron Man.
Yep.
So, that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know this was Sony. I was just hoping to see Spider-Man pop in there, but he didn't.
This is Sony?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't
Apparently,
either. I was surprised that at the beginning that it was Sony, and I was like,
oh right.
Huh. So they made the two Spider-Mans, and they made this, and Spider-Man 3, and then another Ghost Rider a little later.
Did Sony do the Spirit of Vengeance? I'm assuming they did.
Yep,
Huh.
they did.
I don't think I've ever seen Spirit of Vengeance, actually.
I watched it for the first time like last year, I think it was. Or it was a couple years ago. Maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, so after they made Ghost Rider, the second one, a couple years later they made Amazing Spider-Man.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because they made Amazing Spider-Man pretty soon after Spider-Man 3. I mean, it wasn't like that long of a break.
No, it wasn't.
So interesting.
So do you have some first thoughts on this one, or what do you think?
Yeah, this one I've always loved this movie. More of like a popcorn movie, and
Yeah.
I like Ghost Rider. He's just a really cool superhero or anti-hero, I guess you could say. And I've always enjoyed him for various aspects, and I remember always liking this film. You know, I was kind of a hot rod. You know, I was a daredevil. That's what I meant. You know, I always love stuff like Evel Knievel and stunts, and I was always watching X Games and all that stuff growing up. And so when they did, Ghost Rider, you got Johnny Blaze.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's
we had
Johnny
we had
Storm.
We had trouble with Fantastic Four trying to remember his name, and we were thinking it was Johnny Blaze, and we're like, no, that's not right.
Wait a minute, no, his last name is Storm. Okay, so anyways, Johnny Blaze, and yeah, so I had actually watched this kind of recently, probably like a year ago, maybe less, and so I knew what to expect going into it. Pretty cheesy in a lot of ways. Story has some problems. There's a lot of very convenient things that happen in the plot, a lot of confusing things, a lot of character choices that didn't make any sense. Villain was iffy, and Ghost Rider was really cool. And that was it. That's basically what I knew going into it, and coming out of it, it was like, yeah, that's basically it. And this is not terrible. It's not the worst of the films that we've seen. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of problems, but it was fun, and it had a story, it had a plot. Yeah, I think I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it, something that I can't say about a lot of these films.
Yeah, for sure.
There's that.
There is also a lot of mansplaining in this movie.
Yeah.
They were very often, I noticed them explaining different things, and every time they did it, I'm like, no, show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. And
even like the narration at Sam Elliott's narration at the beginning was actually kind of unnecessary, because they explain it later on again, and you find out as you follow the story that there's this contract of souls or whatever that needs to be found, or that the villain's looking for. And
no, it's definitely a trap you can fall into, and not trusting the audience, and technically just thinking of them as stupid and not thinking they'll be able to figure out things. And so they definitely didn't put much trust in the audience to figure out what was going on, and they constantly were explaining different things, which I didn't really like. But so I need to tell you, so I watched the extended edition. I'm always getting stuck watching extended.
You have an extended edition for everything. I didn't even know that existed.
I think it's it was only like 10 minutes longer.
That's actually a lot. 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. But it's a pretty long movie. I mean, it's an hour and 54 for the regular version, and it was 2 hours and some minutes for the extended. But so you're going from an hour 54 to 2 hours and something. So it's I don't think it's that much, but I don't know what was added. I was trying to find out how to watch. I don't know. How did you do you own it, or how did you watch it?
I found it on Prime Video. I had to rent it.
Yeah. I didn't want to rent it, so
yeah. Didn't have any other options.
I don't think it'll make much difference for our reviews, but
wait, so you own the physical?
Yeah,
but it's only extended edition?
Only extended edition. And I thought it was going to be both as usual, but no, it only had the extended edition.
Okay. I mean, you couldn't find out what extra there was.
Maybe extra mansplaining.
Maybe. I mean, that honestly might be it. Just more dialogue.
Yeah, probably. Maybe a little more action. Extended action scenes is typically what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because like the original one. So did you feel like there was an adequate amount of Ghost Rider as Ghost Rider in the movie?
No.
Okay, so the same with me.
No, it's very lacking.
Very much lacking. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So we don't see him for the first time till about 45 minutes into the movie. That is exactly 45 minutes for me. I don't know how that added up for you.
It was
But
probably
that's
about that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was like an hour, but maybe not. I mean, it was probably 45.
It felt like an hour.
It felt like an hour. That's probably
Yeah, so that's one thing I didn't like about the story. I thought a lot of the Evil Knievel type stuff, the Daredevil type stuff was unnecessary. That whole storyline in the beginning, because once he becomes Ghost Rider, about 20 minutes later into the movie, you never hear about it again. Like, it's just not even a thing that he was a Daredevil. Because it wasn't relevant to the story, really, other than, like, they could have just said that he was a Daredevil and all that. But they spent so much time. They spent 45 minutes of the movie about him being a Daredevil and how that's his life. And then all of a sudden he goes away from that, and it's like, it's literally nothing, and nothing changed. And then I was actually thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, like, wasn't he a Daredevil? Like, doesn't anybody care what happened to him? Like, where is he? Like, nobody's even like wondering, like, why is he?
Well, his partner was, though, until he died.
Oh yeah, I guess
and
he
like
was.
They're talking
he did come
about
back for one scene.
They were talking about,
but it's just one scene where he
I
was.
don't know. I can't remember.
He was telling her about, that was a mansplaining thing, and he was telling her about the books and how he's been reading books and doing weird things, and then he died right after that.
And he died,
but
yeah.
it didn't have anything to do with
plot up to that point.
Yeah, he wasn't necessary. So he was in the beginning. That we're talking about this guy. He was in the beginning. He's gone for a very long time. He comes back, not to say anything about the Daredevil stuff, but to tell her that he's been reading books and things have been weird, and then he dies. So that's why I was just like, the whole Daredevil thing. Like, I think him being a Daredevil was important for the story, but the fact that they spent 45 minutes on it when they could have just spent 5 to 10 minutes on it would have been adequate, and spent more time of him as Ghost Rider rather than him as a Daredevil.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I don't know. The pacing of the movie definitely bothered me. I didn't have that much of an issue with them focusing on him as a Daredevil, because I think it just helped us understand his character. But maybe you're right in saying they spent too much time. However, I bet you they probably spent more time in the extended edition. So maybe that wasn't like something that really stuck out to me. Not that you're probably right that they didn't spend too much time, but I don't know. It did take a lot of the film for them to get to the point where he becomes the Ghost Rider. Then we actually get kind of a plot going with the villain and him looking for the contract. I was really confused with the villain's motivations, because like he becomes Ghost Rider and then he goes and finds them. The villain, what's his name, Blackheart or whatever.
Yeah,
it's such a dumb name. I did not like Blackheart as a villain. He was just like a Twilight vampire.
Oh yeah,
like teen pop star.
Yeah,
something.
Well, for a little while, I thought he was the villain from the first Blade movie.
Oh, I know. It was like totally like the same. So Blade and this movie has a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
especially the ending where like he takes in all the souls and then the villain or our anti-hero or hero is able to kill him in some way after he's taken in all the souls. But very similar type of villain.
Yeah.
The son of some ancient god or whatever. I mean, the devil in this one, but
yeah,
I can't remember who was the son of in the Blade, or what that was about.
Remember.
But anyways, I didn't like him. It wasn't very intimidating. I liked Mephisto. I mean, he's Mephisto, pretty much the devil. I liked him for the most part. I think he was pretty intimidating, but he was kind of taken out of the story after he purchases the soul of Johnny Blaze, and and then he comes and finds him when he's older, and says, "I need you to go and find Blackheart and kill him." But like I said, I was kind of confused by how where the plot was going, because I guess Johnny was trying to find him, but somehow he's able to find them, and then they sends one of his Blackheart sends one of his minions. Daredevil kills him, Ghost Rider kills him with no problem at all. It was basically just for us to see his powers. He kills him, and then Blackheart just runs away or something. And then we meet him again later after he becomes a Ghost Rider, And it was just like whenever he becomes a Ghost Rider, they just happen to all meet up together and then have a conflict. But then the whole prison thing where he goes to prison, then he breaks out, and then they find him somehow, and I don't understand what Ghost Rider's doing. He's just trying to get away from the cops, I guess. But then he runs into the villain, and then they have another interaction with his minions, and then I think that concludes, and I don't know. It was just
there was a lot of weird stuff with motivation for Ghost Rider that was confusing. I've really struggled with Johnny Blaze's motivations because Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze were kind of separate. Because Ghost Rider was like his mission was to kill all the demon people or whatever, because that's what like the Mephisto guy wanted him to do and was telling him to do, and he had to do.
Yeah.
But then, there was confusion with like Johnny Blaze, like what was his motivations, what was he trying to do? I mean, a lot of it was like trying to just understand what was going on.
I mean, he knew though what he was supposed to do, because Mephisto tells him like, I need you to kill Blackheart, and you can't do otherwise. He really forces him to do it. So he knows that, and so But yeah, I guess as far as his motivations, and then you bring in the love interest, which we can get into that in a little bit. Like that had all kinds of problems, and she just was really annoying and just made character choices that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But then you bring her into the picture, and he wants to be with her, but then he can't, but he decides to be with her, and she's just around, and she doesn't believe these Ghost Riders, and then she believes what she sees him riding up the building, which I actually still don't understand why he was doing that. I don't know. There's just multiple things that were not very clear and kind of confusing. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, what do you think about I don't know. Yeah, I guess getting into character development, like what do you think Johnny Blaze's struggle was throughout the story?
I think he said it about 10 times in the mirror.
Yeah.
Don't fear, don't fear, don't fear.
Don't fear.
Don't fear the past.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about struggling with fear of the past, and I guess that all just revolved around his dad and the deal with the devil, I guess.
Pretty much.
Because it was kind of confusing because he was also very fearless with what he was doing and how he was like testing death essentially and seeing how far he could go without dying, because he had in his head that he was invincible, and he like thought like something was involved with him being able to do so much.
Mm-hmm.
So he was being extremely fearless in that, but then I don't know. What was he trying to face? Like, what fear? I don't know exactly what fear, I guess, he was struggling with. Like, I guess
I mean, because he still is carrying around the weight of his dad's death and trying to forget about the past by moving forward. But him as being a daredevil and, like, doing all these crazy stunts, but knowing that he's not going to die because he probably is like trying to die almost, but not able to, and he understand. I guess does he know that it's Mephisto that is keeping him alive? No, I think he finds that out later.
He finds out later, but he was saying like he thought he was thinking it was. He thought it was.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and so I guess it's kind of just fear of moving on and his struggle with his, having lost his dad and feeling guilt for that. I mean, because he made the deal and Mephisto tricked him. So, and I thought like once that happened, I was like, okay, this movie's gonna be a story about revenge, right? Like this is a revenge story. He's gonna get revenge on Mephisto for killing his father, but it really wasn't that, because then you bring in Mephisto's son, and then he has to work for Mephisto, and then he kind of gets that revenge in the end when he decides to become normal.
Yeah.
But to remain as a Ghost Rider, and Mephisto doesn't like that.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different things like that just didn't make much sense. And yeah, I guess the fear, like what he was afraid of, just didn't really click with me.
Sure.
And
it wasn't very clear, and like we don't really
I felt like
see
it was
him
very
overcoming it.
Right. And I felt like it was really like I felt like they had to put it in because of him being Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider having the penance stare and like the fear that they feel when they have the penance stare. So he himself had to overcome some fear. So I just think that it was forced in that way, and that's why it felt forced.
Sure.
There's one really.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna move on. Okay. The jail cell scene made no sense for them to attack him. Do you remember the reason? It was
because he was Johnny Blaze and he was this hot shot or big star, and they just want to beat him up.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just like, hey, you're that stunt guy, aren't you? He's like, I went to your show. He's like, I went to your show to watch you splat, and you didn't.
Well, he bet money that he would crash.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm out. I'm out $1,000 or something. I don't know what he said.
But it was so dumb. It's like
it was pretty dumb.
Like that literally makes no sense for him to just randomly beat him up.
It's fine. You don't know what prison's like, okay?
Yeah, the day cell.
Right.
It's a hard place.
It was
that.
Yeah, so there's just various scenes throughout the film that were just really forced and then rushed. The pacing of the whole movie was just kind of off, and then it had a really rushed third act and final conclusion climax.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that was a problem, which we can get to in a minute. But
yeah, well, the first act was most of the movie, about almost half of the movie, and then
seemed like
a pretty long second act, and then a very short third act, and yeah, it was definitely rushed.
Yeah,
ending, and yeah, there's another scene I was trying to think of that was really dumb. Did you have some scenes? Because I remember you mentioning some conveniences and stuff. We can talk about those, and then maybe get into the
sure
love interest and all that.
I'm blanking on what I meant, what I was referring to. I think there's just it was just kind of confusing, like even figuring out the Ghost Rider powers, especially when he's able to turn it on and off, and how he figures out that he can do that. Because
they never
the first time he turns
that.
into the Ghost Rider, it's at night, and he's in the he's about to face off against the bad guys, and then he just he turns into the Ghost Rider in the most Nick Cage way ever, where he's like burning, and he's got that crazy Nick Cage face. And then he turns into the Ghost Rider. But then it's like when he's in the apartment and he's able to like catch his hand or make fire with his hand. And then,
when he was like reading the books and stuff.
Okay, yeah, because he was studying and learning.
But even that wasn't very well
Where'd he
worked
get the
out.
books?
And he had always been studying them because remember they were all sitting under his motorcycle. Because like he'd just been studying it because of the devil that he met so long ago.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said, like just a lot of scenes where they were just always explaining what was going on and like catching us up, and a lot of that was with the other Ghost Rider guy. He was always like explaining things.
That's all he did.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he was a a wise character for an older wise man to help teach our character and to help him learn and to set him on the right path.
Yeah, but he was even like explaining about like Darkheart. Is that his name? Darkheart.
Blackheart.
Blackheart. He's always like he was even explaining about Blackheart and like what he was doing and stuff. And I'm like, why does he even know everything that goes on here? And it just felt very forced. Like I understood he was supposed to be like
Johnny Blaze, he just call him Nick Cage. Nick Cage mentions Blackheart to Sam Elliott.
Yeah, and then he's like,
oh, Blackheart, and then he talks about that's the devil's son or Mephisto's son, and or Mephistopheles' son, whatever they call him, Mephistopheles in this. And so then he goes on to explain. But you're right. It's just he's just an exposition wise man, pretty much, for our character. which can work, and I didn't hate Sam Elliott's character.
Right? Yeah, no,
that was good.
Pretty cool.
Of course, getting to the third act and the decision he makes at the end didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of those things that.
But once
he's
again,
like, I had one last ride in me.
It's like, okay, well, why'd you use it to get there? Why can't you just use it when you got there, or
yeah,
or
just keep it on? Yeah,
keep it on. Yeah.
Why'd you have to turn it off before the fight?
Yeah.
But anyway, we should before we get into that, let's talk about what this movie really is, which is a romance movie. So
sure, right.
What took up 90% of this movie was about this romance.
So he makes a deal with the devil, and then he realizes he can't be with Roxanne. Roxanne is like, I laughed when I heard that her name is Roxanne, because I feel like that's just the most cliche TV anchor newswoman name in any movie.
Yeah.
Was it Roxanne Ritchie? What's that from? Roxanne
that's
Ritchie.
From Megamind.
I mean, that's just why I thought about it. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
But anyways, sure. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So that so he decides that he can't be with her, so he, for some reason, he drives to where they were supposed to meet and just stares at her and doesn't explain why he's leaving, and then he just drives off in the rain. Then he decides he's going to be a stuntman and make a career out of it, so he keeps on doing stunts, bigger and better and more buses, more and helicopters jumping football fields, all those things.
I got rid of the cars.
Yeah. And then Roxanne happens to, I don't know if maybe this is one of the convenient things. Like, why is she, if she knows who he is, which she does, she says she knows that he's been doing this. Why does she go and interview him and then decide not to actually stay for the jump? Well, I didn't understand that.
Yes, well, because her boss put the job on her to go interview him, and she takes it and does it, but she's not even from the town anymore, I guess, or maybe she is. No, I think she is still from the same town, but she's
because she was leaving town.
Yeah, she was leaving town. Yeah. So she wasn't even from the same town. So she went to drive there, take on the job to talk to him, but didn't want to actually talk to him. And didn't want to see him jump. And Nick Cage even says later, like, you didn't have to take the job to go interview me. It's like, well, she didn't even really interview you. She just like, and you weren't even answering any questions. You were just
being
saying random things. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden after that, they're just hanging out all the time.
Well, because he kind of tricked, or he pressures her into going on a date with him. Keeps nagging her about it, and which also didn't make sense because, like, why is it all of a sudden he's deciding now that he wants to be with her when he already left her because he's a Ghost Rider? Well, he's still the Ghost Rider. Now he even knows he's the Ghost Rider, or what that means. He sold his soul to the devil,
and I guess all this time he could have just gone to find her and talk to her. I mean, he was keeping up with her too, so it's like it didn't make any sense for them to just both be like, "Oh yeah, we need to be together."
So this woman who how do I say it? She has herself together. Like, has a career job as a reporter, and she decides that she'll go on a date with him. And so she goes to, they meet at the restaurant, or they're supposed to meet at the restaurant. She goes to the restaurant, sits at the table. And what does she do when he doesn't show up? Well, she does what any woman would do in this situation. She pulls out a magic 8-ball. and shakes it and gets an answer for why her date's not there, or why her life is a pathetic mess.
That did happen.
And then she chugs a tall glass of wine.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
she asked the waiter, You think I'm
Am
pretty, right?
Am I pretty, right? Yeah.
And he's
I don't know.
like,
I feel like her character is completely unraveled at that moment. I was like, what? Who? Like, this is not. Who is this person? What is like? First off, who wrote this?
It was a very big shift for sure. And then
Yeah.
But the waiter was just like, eh.
Yeah, right. And then throughout the story, she's like, what does she do after the restaurant thing? Well, she confronts him and gets mad at him, and then she comes back and apologizes to him. Without apologizing, like, what? So she comes running back to him, and she's like, I still love you. I still care about you. Why don't you love me? Why don't you care about me? And she's like, just like coming on to him over and over again, and it just like didn't really make much sense. Like, this dude's rejected you multiple times, and we have no reason to really understand why it is that you care about him, but apparently you do. And can we also talk about his accent throughout the film? I don't know if you didn't caught this.
I didn't notice.
Well, he has like a southern accent, but I'm pretty sure he turns it off and on like multiple times. Like, there are times where he definitely does not, and then there's times where he definitely does.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem consistent at all to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, but I feel like whenever he would talk in a southern accent, it threw me off because it didn't seem like he was doing that before, and now he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. and then you have his voices as Ghost Rider, which didn't sound like Nick Cage at all, but it's fine. I mean, they changed his voice for a reason, but yeah. And then his dialogue as Ghost Rider was so bad. What was the one line he said? Well, so we have like a save the cat moment when he becomes Ghost Rider, because he goes and saves Rebel Wilson. Is that her name?
Oh yeah.
He goes and saves Rebel Wilson. So like it showed us that, like, okay, this guy who's sold his soul to the devil, has his powers, is a good guy. He's he obviously is kind of an anti-hero because then he kills the dude who's trying to rob her. But what does he say? Like, guilty, or no? He points to Rebel, like, innocent, and
yeah,
and then guilty. Look into my soul, or look into my eyes, or let me look into your soul. I don't know. He said something really generic.
Yeah,
there was just like every time Ghost Rider talked was just super generic lines, which is something we get a lot in these superhero movies. I get it. I understand, but
there's a lot of cringy dialogue with him.
Stomach sometimes.
Yep.
Their relationship was really dumb, and because then you have the scene where they're in the apartment, and she's asking him like, "Hey, why are you acting weird? What's going on?" And he's like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." And then she's like, "You have no idea what I would believe," or something. And then he tells her that I sold my soul to the devil. And she's like, and then she thinks it's a complete joke, and he's being a piece of crap.
And I turn into a monster. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
she didn't believe him. He's like, well,
leaves.
I just told you that you wouldn't believe me.
Right.
And you assured me that you would believe me. Now I'm telling you, and you don't believe me.
Yeah. So that is what caused her to finally leave him. But then I think, and then what was the next time that she changes her mind is when she sees him
driving
on the
up
bike,
the wall,
climbing up the wall, and she's like, "Oh, I believe him now." And then they meet up, and
it's like miles away. It's just like this
I know.
little light. It's this little light going up.
Fire going
it
up
could have
the
been anything.
It's like, oh, he wasn't lying. I don't know. The writers do not know how to write female characters, apparently.
Yeah.
It's not how women act, usually.
Yeah.
So, it was just odd. She was just really annoying, like most of these female protagonists that we have in these movies. Have we gotten, like, a good female protagonist, like a female love interest in any of these movies that we've watched? I mean, obviously, going back to our very first film, Captain America, with Haley Atwell, but when we talked about also how she was pretty much a soldier and acting like a man, it just didn't fit that time. But we also mentioned how her as a love interest for Captain America worked for the most part, if you just set aside the fact that she was a soldier. But other than that, it's like, I feel like
I think the best one was in one of our worst movies, which was X-Men Origins.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was her motives was because of her sister, of her
Sure.
lying to him, but she still loved him, and she was still like submissive to him and stuff. And
the Wolverine.
She actually has a 5.1
on IMDb.
No, that's what we rated it.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like most of these movies, granted, like a lot of the heroes also have been pretty poorly written. And I don't know, what would you say? Like, would you say that overall, I think I would say overall, Johnny Blaze was not a terrible character. It just, they didn't give him clear motivations. They didn't give him much of a struggle.
Yeah, they felt like, well, this movie was definitely, this whole movie was a show, not tell. I mean, it was a tell, not show. Like
Yeah.
Like that's why the character kept saying, "Do not fear, do not fear." It's because we need to know that he was struggling with his fear, and they kept telling us, but they never were showing us that he was struggling with fear. And that's what this whole movie has been: is he's constantly telling us something, but not showing us. So like, yeah, like he was struggling with fear, and that was there, but yeah, I mean, I guess the character wasn't terrible. Like, I don't think it's not one of the worst ones we've had, so.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
so,
I guess we kind of
get third act.
Yeah, third act.
Yeah. So, like I said,
I found my other note of one of the dumb things.
Go for it.
The devil guy in the beginning said when he was a kid, when Johnny Blaze was a kid, he like did all that stuff to make him sign his blood and stuff. And then he says, "Well, I don't need you right now, but I'll come back later when I do need you." So I was confused. Why in the world was he getting him as a kid? Yeah.
What was the point of him waiting?
Yeah. And why? Yeah, I don't understand why
Maybe he knew that his son would go looking for the contract in 10 years, whatever. I don't know.
It's just funny, like when he went through all that work and he's like, "Well, I don't need you right now, but I will later." So I was like, "Well, what was all that for? Why'd you just go through all that work?" But yeah, so we already kind of talked about character development. I don't know if you have anything to add on that. Otherwise, we can just talk about the Dark Knight of the Soul, Sacrifice, and
I think that was
the story of the third act.
Right. I said that was pretty much it. I don't have much more to say. I mean, our female character, I mean, maybe her struggle was trust, but she has no problem trusting him after he comes back. But then she doesn't, because then he kind of, he leaves her at the restaurant, and I don't know.
Yeah, there definitely didn't seem to be just much going on with her and in character development or anything. So
yeah. So
she was just kind of on the side, just doing her thing.
Right. Well, and then she obviously gets taken by Blackheart, so that was part of also his motivation for going to get the contract and going to
and then we get the ride, the last ride, one legendary last ride.
Which, like, hey, it was super cool to see Samuel become the Ghost Rider, as a cowboy Ghost Rider. Well, so what's his name? Cade something, whatever his name is. So that is like the original Ghost Rider in the comics. And but he actually, the original one, the first Ghost Rider that they wrote in the comics, so his name was Cade something. He was a cowboy, but he was more like an actual like ghost, kind of like you can see like him, but like he was kind of like had like a ghostly appearance, and he had like a bandana on his face, and his name was I think Cade something, whatever his name is, but same thing as Sam Elliott, but then they obviously went with the actual like flame Ghost Rider, which was super cool, and seeing him ride the horse and
super cool scene. It just didn't make any sense when it came to an end where he's like,
"No,
well, that was my last ride.
That was my last ride."
He's like,
I had one.
So
they didn't really explain like why did he have one more use? Like,
well, so he gets to the end, so he changes, and then they ride, and then they get to where he needs to be, and then he turns his flames off, and is like, "Well, that was my last try. That was my last time changing."
See ya.
It's like, why did you just turn off the Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
And why didn't you just keep it so that you could go into the fight?
Or save it until you got there.
Save it till you got there.
Or I guess he had to be there in
did-
order to go fast and get there in time because it was pretty
Did
far
you-
away. So I don't know.
Well, and it's like, with his last ride, did he only have a certain time limit of how long he
Right.
could stay as the Ghost Rider? Why did he only have one last
It would make
ride?
sense if.
None of it made any sense.
Well, he should have still had it until sunrise.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
that's the deal with the Ghost. That's the rule they established
Yeah.
in the film that
Yeah.
at nighttime he can become I guess he can or does become the Ghost Rider, or has the ability to turn it on. And
I think he was just lying to him and just didn't want to fight.
sure, yeah, that was that.
And just left, and that was the end of him.
Right.
And we get our fight, and it was an alright fight. There's
Yeah. For some reason, he shoots him with a shotgun and it works, or like it actually is effective, and then he uses his. So he establishes earlier that Ghost Rider has, which I don't know how he finds out that he has it. Like, how does he know that he has his power? Going back to the Rebel Wilson scene, he grabs this guy and says, "Look into my eyes," and then he like sees, every
this is
sin he ever
what I
committed.
understood, is because like as soon as he turned into the Ghost Rider the first time, he was going after the bad guys.
Mhm.
And Johnny Blaze had no knowledge of that at all. So I think in my head, Ghost Rider was like a separate being than
Kind of
Johnny
like
Blaze.
Moon Knight,
Yeah.
Sort
So
of.
it's like a different personality type
like a
of thing.
Jekyll and Hyde.
And that's why when he woke up that first time, he's like, yeah, everything from last night, that all happened before you asked.
Okay.
And so like I think it was like Hulk kind of thing. Like he's there in the mind, but he has no control.
And
It's just a different being.
So he gains control by the end, sort of,
Yeah,
somehow.
I guess so. Somehow.
Because then he uses that ability that he finds out he has against him, because they tell us that Blackheart has no soul. Most of his dialogue was really annoying too, but apparently, Blackheart has no soul, so he can't look into his soul.
Oh yeah, so there's a lot of things
And then
about him, because like they're like, you'll fall just like your father. So they were like demon spirits that were taking on elements,
Yeah, because he had like,
but they
ice
weren't actually
powers.
spirits because they didn't have souls and they weren't
Well-
demons.
Well, Tobiah, what does he say? He may take my soul, but he can't take my spirit.
Oh yeah.
That was so dumb. I was like, what is this? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, like his spirit to keep on moving forward and keep fighting.
Yeah.
I guess, but still dumb.
Spirit not to fear, I guess.
Sure.
So he like, time is against him, of course.
Sorry. The devil may have my soul, but he doesn't have my spirit or something.
That was it.
That was it.
But yeah, so he's in the fight. Time's against him because the sun's rising.
Yeah.
And then apparently they established just now and then that as long as you're in the shadows, you can turn into the Ghost
Right.
Rider. It doesn't matter if it's the sun's up. It's just you have to be in the shadows.
Be the shadow.
So the time of day doesn't actually matter anymore. So we changed our
guess.
minds about that. Now it's as long as you're in the shadows. So as long as you're not in the sight of the sun. That's the new rule.
Right.
So they established that rule right away because he gets to the shadows, uses his powers to make a Ghost Rider shotgun. And kills the villain. Wait, does that one kill the villain? Does that shot kill the villain?
No,
Or did he have to do
He
something
kills
else?
it because so that's what I was saying about the soul. So they established earlier he has no soul.
Oh yeah.
And then he opens the seal or the contract, says the spell, whatever. He acquires the 1,000 souls.
Yeah.
They come into him, and now guess
I
what?
remember.
He has a soul, or he has souls, and so he can look into his soul. Because what does Ghost Rider say then? He says something near the generic line.
Oh yeah, it was
And-
I don't know what it is.
I don't know, whatever. And then he uses his power to burn his soul or send him to hell or whatever.
Yeah, he was saying something like you have 1,000 souls now that you're gonna feel all their pain, or feel all their fear and
all their fear, all their sin. Yeah.
Yeah. So he takes on that and dies just like all the other people that died in this movie.
I guess. So is he just like dead, or is he like thrown in hell, locked in hell? And like
whatever happens with the penance stare, whatever happened to all those people,
penance
I don't
stare,
know.
that's it. Yeah, I keep.
So whatever happened to all the people? I don't understand. Like, does the penance stare kill them?
I don't think so. I mean, well, it kills humans. Like, you know, the dude that was mugging rebels, I'm pretty sure he died.
But then he blinked at the end.
So like, Ghost Rider is the judge, jury, and executioner of people. So he goes around and he's able to look into their soul and decide they're innocent or guilty, and
right.
And then punishes them. So he's protecting the innocent and judging the guilty. So he's an anti-hero. He does go around killing people. Because I don't understand the whole rules with Blackheart, because Blackheart's a demon. So why is it? I think he expelled him from that realm, from the realm of the living, or of Earth, of the other side of the spirit world. Not outs, but whatever. And so I think he expelled him, but also trapped him somehow, probably. But also, what was his? So, did you understand his point and motivation to acquire this contract of 1,000 souls? Like, what was it going to do for him? Just become more powerful than his father, or what?
Yeah, I guess you can. They said it was the first thing they said is that the scroll gives you the power to control the souls of the dead. I think it's all the dead. And so they were at a grave site, so he was able to just take the souls that were there, I think.
Well, but I think the contract he bound 1,000. So Sam Elliott, he bound 1,000 souls in the contract or whatever. Whenever he unleashed them, he unleashed the ones that were bound.
Right.
Back hundreds of years ago, whenever.
Yeah.
Mr.
But I think
Elliott
he had the control to control over the dead, I think, or something.
Something like that. And then, what was the one thing that Sam Elliott's character said to him before he was going to go fight? He's like, you may be on God's side now, or, your soul may belong to the devil, but you're on God's side. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was kind of
and then he
confusing.
And then he said, mind the shadows.
Mind the shadows.
Telling him about his new power, the new rule of...
Sure.
Being able to use shadows. But yeah, no, he said something like that about being on...
So he kind of becomes this judge, that goes around judging souls, but he's doing it for God? I don't know. But sorry, dude.
Confusing.
So the only way you can be on God's side if you repent and believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. So do that.
Yeah.
Mr. Ghost Rider.
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of late to mention this, but in the beginning of the movie, when he was explaining the Ghost Rider, of how the Ghost Rider started, it was with the scroll. And he said that, so Mephisto wanted that scroll, but the guy that had the scroll didn't want to give it to him because he knew it wasn't right for him to have it. So the scroll turned him into the Ghost Rider so that he could run away and hide it from Mephisto.
I thought he was already the Ghost Rider.
See, that's what I didn't get that. I got that he turned into the Ghost Rider at that point, and he got those powers so that he could keep it and run away. He could be fast enough to run away from Mephisto and get it away from him.
Right.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole thing about how Mephisto controlled the Ghost Rider, but I was like, well, is he just saying he has control over him because he doesn't have control over him, and it's just a manipulation tactic?
Sure.
But it's all very confusing.
Right.
I'd have to watch it again to get that.
Anyways, let's wrap up the third act. So the fight defeats the bad guy. Dark Knight of the Soul.
Sun was shining, and the bad guy got the scroll and was getting all the souls in him, and Ghost Rider was right in the middle of the sun, so he didn't have his powers. And then he started
which I thought was good. I mean, because it did help us kind of show that both sides are reconciled, or he
Yeah.
is the Ghost Rider, and then that it further proves it when at the end of the film he decides he's going to continue as Ghost Rider. So
Yeah.
he knows this is who he is now, and he wants to do right by this ability he's been given.
For sure.
And he does it for his father. He says
For
every
sure.
soul I judge will be for the blood of my father, or something like that.
Yeah, no, so with superhero movies, it's always best when the Dark Knight of the Soul, when the hero loses his powers. Like, that's how it's supposed to be in a superhero movie. The hero's supposed to lose his powers, and whatever he's been trying to overcome throughout the movie, he overcomes it without his powers, because he, as a human, needs to be able to overcome it and repent of whatever it is. And then he gets his powers back and defeats the bad guy. Like, that's how it's supposed to go out. That's how this one did it, and it was good.
Good job, movie.
Yeah, so I thought it worked well. Yeah, he accepted his past and didn't fear it anymore, and accepted his responsibility of the powers he has, and then that's what motivated him to, in the end, when Mephisto was like, "Give me your powers back," he said, "No, I'm actually going to come after you and find you and destroy you."
Yeah,
because he says, "I am the Ghost Rider, the Spirit of Vengeance," which is the name of the second
Cue the
Ghost
next
Rider
movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's like the movie. Obviously, it's just instead of him giving up his powers and being with the girl, he instead keeps his powers, leaves the girl, and goes off into the sunset alone.
Yeah.
So that there can be a sequel.
Yeah, the girl
doesn't
was
really
right
have
there
like
too.
What?
The girl was right there too, and
Yeah.
he's just like basically rejects her again, right?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. This time she's kind of okay with it.
Yeah, but how many times did this girl get rejected in this movie by Nicolas Cage?
She's miserable.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
She's not even in the sequel either. I don't know
Really?
if you knew that. Yeah, she's not in it.
I didn't know. I figured she wouldn't be.
I don't think any of the same actors except for Nick Cage is in it. It takes place in like Puerto Rico or something like that.
Yeah, I think I knew that. Yeah.
When I first watched it, I was like, this is not at all like the first one or anything.
They also slashed the budget for the second one. It was half of what this one was.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah. I looked it up. This one had a budget of 110 million, which obviously a lot of it went into the visual effects. Which we're running out of time. Let's hop on that real quick. Visual effects. I thought for 2006 it was really good. Yeah. The score was a little iffy, but other than that, everything was pretty freaking cool, and the actions was really awesome. Him, riding his motorcycle even on the building and
the only ones that looked weird were some of the villains. Their visuals looked weird. They were the only ones. But Ghost Rider looked great, and I thought it was incredible.
I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
It's like pretty fun. But
yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have much issue with visual effects.
Yeah. That was good. I guess we go ahead and rate it.
I think so. Don't got much more. How are we gonna rate this one? I'm definitely this is above average film for me, I would say. It reminds me of Blade, because this is kind of another one of those kind of horror superhero movies. It reminds me a lot of Blade. I don't know if it is better than Blade 1. I think Blade 1 had a little bit of a better story. Oh, did it? I don't know. Because Blade as a character has a lot of problems as well. And then man, I'm definitely thinking like 6 something.
Yeah, I was thinking 6.5.
6.5 with Hulk. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Rider. Oh, 6.5. I feel like that's high, but at the same time, no. I don't know. We didn't have much praise for this movie, but
I know we really didn't have a whole lot. So maybe we are going too high here. It's just because of the visuals and the Ghost Rider itself, it makes it fun and stuff. But
yeah,
it really wasn't.
I don't think this was a terrible movie, like I said. But I do think it's a little bit above average.
Yeah.
What did you think about 5.9?
Yeah,
I just don't know if it's
a little more right. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think we're being too generous there because we're really thinking about like what redeeming qualities this movie had. There weren't a whole lot. So
I mean, but like there wasn't. Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst movie. It had a story.
You know,
it had a story, and it had
story.
a good ending. It
Characters
had things happening.
Things happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? 5.9?
5.9's fine with me. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Actually, I might take that back. Well, because I know we're trying not to judge this based off of other movies, but you kind of have to. Because like Last Stand was a 5.4. Why did we give? I feel like that's a little too high for Last Stand. Why did we do that? No. Then Apocalypse. Is this better than Apocalypse? I would actually put the. I'm changing. I think I'm changing my mind. I think this is more like Blade 2, where it's like visual effects are decent for the time that it was. You know, it's a fun superhero movie. It's got some good, killing demons, killing vampires, killing bad guys.
I feel like someday I will watch this movie again too. So there's
right.
a
I would totally watch this again. Yeah.
So I think that we got to take into account too.
What do you think? What do you think about 6.2?
But I still think 5.9.
Okay.
I know we gave those other movies too high, but I think that's less like learning how to.
Yeah, sure.
How to rank these movies and rate these movies.
Right. Yeah, this would be like a 5.9. Yeah. Okay. I see.
I think it's 5.9.
we'll
Apocalypse
do that.
Too high. Blade 2 maybe too high, but
I don't know. I think Blade 2 is about right there for me.
Yeah.
Personally, I think X-Men is about right there.
I think those X-Men, there's just so many of them, and they were just hard to judge.
Hard to judge, yeah.
But I think some of them are a little too high. But yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
I think 5.9 for this movie is pretty fair.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. Well, we will be talking about we usually talk about Stan Lee cameos and credit scenes in our after hours. And we also do mini reviews.
Look at the IMDb score.
Yeah, we'll check the IMDb score and see how it did compared to our rating. And sometimes we laugh about that. And we do mini reviews. I do have
a little interesting tidbit about this film. Maybe that's we could leave, like, especially a lot of superhero movies. There's just little tidbits here and there.
Yeah, we always talk about tidbits, and so sometimes there's things we forget to mention in our review, and we talk about those things that we forgot to mention about the movie and those, and we spend 5 to 10 minutes more just talking about little interesting things and just having a laugh, and then we get into a mini review. Like last week, I did If. That's an Imaginary Friends by John Krasinski, which just came out. Yeah, so we're always doing new movies in there, and our fan suggested stuff. We'll review any movie, new or old, and give you a mini review of that, about 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 20, sometimes 2-part, 1 hour each mini reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
That's only happened once and probably will never happen again because we'll just be sure not to do that.
Right.
But 10 to 15 minutes is pretty much been the average for our mini reviews, so it's pretty fun. It's just a good way for us to continue reviewing different movies for you guys, so you guys can just keep being mindful of what you're watching and glorifying God and just watch good movies. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.